All right, so we are going to talk now about that goddamn international break and our boys jetting off around the world. Poor old Endo, Si. How many miles did he travel this time? And what we're going to look at is the state of the squad as it is right now going into the Burnley game, and how much our players have played, and specifically how much they've travelled. So first of all, Si, I guess should we start with? I don't think I've seen any reports of any actual injuries to any of our players.
No injuries, and this has only happened once in the last 7 years coming back from international football.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable in itself. But is it remarkable, or are we buying lads who don't have an injury history that are less likely to get injured? Anyway, that all those things are true. But currently, again, another article going deep into this is that international football has a ton of travel, which causes extra stress to the system, and we've got some lads that have been traveling more than halfway around the world, but because of our procurement strategy, we've got less than we had before. We've got fewer lads that have to travel halfway around the world than we did before, which puts
we got two fewer South Americans.
Exactly, which makes such a huge difference. Or 3 fewer if you add Bobby back into there as well, where we used to be sharing Fab and Bobby and Ali coming back, with sharing planes with City's Brazilian lads, and then you were getting what I think people don't quite. People underestimate the travel involved in African football as well. So Mo's still done nearly 8,000 miles. And you would have Sadio doing that too. And then those environments are not Liverpool. What you were just talking about, the backroom staff and maybe facilities of Newcastle not being as up to Liverpool, is possibly true a little bit to a percentage. Maybe with the environment and the facilities available to Liverpool than Newcastle. That's not in African football. They are in the difference between Egypt's stadium and facilities and Burkina Faso's facilities are it's like one's going from Wembley into Exeter, and that's being kind. So Mo just took a private jet all the way back from Burkina Faso. So he's back early, and we got 3 days of training, which is amazing rather than what we were at before a couple of years ago, where we got 5 South Americans coming back on Friday morning. Overnight flights on Friday morning and having to play at lunchtime on Saturday. This time we've got 2 o'clock on Sunday, which is amazing. So, long story short, we've got absurd travel from Endo because they did ridiculous friendlies on the west coast of America.
Poor Endo. He does
TV money, but he only played 1 game. He didn't even come on in the second game. It's all Japan captain playing friendly nonsense, whatever. But we do have a consequence of us being brilliant and having young lads who haven't been injured as much and are at the peak of their power. Is they all play for their countries, and they playing almost all of the games for their countries as well. So we've come back in a situation where I would like to see this as a positive. 1 game a week for 3 weeks. We allowed the idiots in international football to squeeze the lemon of our players by playing them double game weeks. But we now have lads who have played double game weeks going into double game weeks.
So how many of our lads made 2 starts? Connor?
So Connor played 2, but he came off the 7th after 1. Zobbo played all but 2 minutes of both games. Kirkes played, Ibu played, Virgil played, Grav only played the first game, didn't come on in the second. Wirtz played both, Mo played both, Gakpo played both, and Ekitike came on in both, but minimally in the second. And Alexander Isak came on for the first time this season for 23 magnificent minutes of getting his feet wet.
Yeah.
Which is a key. I just want to preface this for everybody. Isak is in pre-season right now. Everybody understands the tempo of a pre-season. It lasts for 3 to 4 weeks from when they start playing their first pre-season game to the first game of the season. You can kind of get the feeling for that. you are going to see a 3 to 4 week easing in of Isak before he is ready to be a full-time Liverpool footballer. And at that stage, we have the second international break of the season. So don't really be expecting him to fly. I'm almost expecting his first start to be the Carabao, and then maybe Chelsea.
I was about to ask you, what's the Simon Brundish prediction for the first Isak start? So yeah, Carabao Cup.
Yeah, Carabao would be the first game.
So yeah, and you think it's going to be Hugo for Burnley, Atleti, and Everton. You think?
I would expect so. Let me just say that I would consider it, given the nature of Isak's injury history and his running mechanics, where he has been from a training perspective. I think there are huge red flags in starting him in any of those 3 games.
Okay. Can I also suggest one final observation to you, say, on the international break? I thought one of the biggest, most unexpected developments of the international break was Mo Salah giving up a penalty. Well, he actually gave one to Omar Marmoush. Who had that on the bingo card?
Well, absolutely crazy. And then Mamouche ended up getting hurt in his knee and going off in the next game. But pure coincidence. Earlier that day when he played, there was my son was watching LFC TV goals, and it had Robbie Fowler on, and I was like, and he was just taking a penalty, and I said to him, "Did you ever see that time where he went down against Arsenal, got given a penalty, and then he told the ref he dived, and it was taken off, and he didn't have the pen?" And I was like, "That's the only time I've ever seen it happen," and he hadn't seen it at all, and it was almost that level of selflessness from Mo. He gave Bobby a hat-trick penalty, didn't he?
Yeah, doesn't do it very often.
No, but I don't know this story, the backstory of why he did it or anything. But
final one on this one to you, and thoughts on the use of Mac Allister. Obviously, coming back from a hernia, hasn't played much in the Premier League, so he looked way off the pace against Arsenal. He didn't play the first game, and then he plays the full game against Brazil. How do you think that's going to work out for us?
That was really annoying, but he's got to play at some point. And he looked like the reports I've seen. I didn't see any of the game. I just saw reports that he looked like he was lacking rhythm. But they had, I think, they had a player sent off. Argentina, early player sent off, so they were restricted in who they could bring on and off. And you know that Mac is going to do tactically whatever he can, whatever is the right thing for the team. So yeah, I think there's a level of trust there. And from a programming perspective, playing a full 90, having not played, is probably not ideal. But if they planned it for the previous 10 days, is perfectly in line with good practice.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to a slightly different tactical, slightly different international break question. Bart and Hamza, any thoughts on the usage of Florian Wirtz for Germany versus Liverpool? Very different roles, playing off the left primarily in both games. Hamza obviously were with England, maybe you didn't see the Germany games, anything to the Germany. But I don't know if you saw anything. Do you have any views on him being used differently, club and country?
I think it's interesting. He clearly played well for Germany on the left. I didn't watch the game; I watched the highlight. I mean, I'm not, I don't like international football. Best of times that I watch another country play. But no, it is interesting. It's kind of, it's going to be going forward. It'll be fascinating to see how Slot deals with that, because for Leverkusen he played in that sort of from the left into the left half space. For Germany's kind of, he starts on the left and he comes into that space. So it will be interesting to see whether Slot is going to persevere with he's my 10 and I'm going to make it work, and that's fine, or whether he does eventually go to the other system. But I thought it was interesting. He was on free kicks as well. I think Side noted last.
Scored a beauty.
He did, yeah, but his corners haven't been great for what he done for us free kick wise, hadn't been set play wise, hasn't been great. But no, I thought ultimately what's best for us. he goes away into an environment he knows, he gets confidence, he realises he is the player that we bought, and maybe he comes back with renewed vigour and motivation to prove that he is that player. Maybe that's a good thing. So where he plays is not that relevant. In fact, he's gone away and had 2 good performances to come back to us for a trip away at Burnley is probably a good thing, I would suggest, for him as a player, humanistically. Slot seems pretty evident he's going to play for 10 with us. So, yeah, we might have to still debate the national versus club positional sense. But it looked like he was taking up similar positions he took with us in the earlier games of the season. So, yeah, maybe it's all not that important.
I think that points to the key bit there. You could start off on paper in formation as a left winger, but that doesn't mean you have to actually play as a left winger. I think it's one of the things I thought that Slot might do if he had like a right back available in the first few games, and maybe against Arsenal, was to play with Szoboszlai, Mac Allister, Gravenberch as a midfield, and then Mac Allister, and Wirtz technically off the left, but not actually off the left because Kirkes provides a width, right? So he would have just been playing in the pockets, moving to where the space was, and then Ekitike as a centre forward. Because of Szoboszlai moving out right, we probably didn't see that. Well, obviously we didn't see that, but I think the point that Bart's makes there, that just because you're the left winger on paper doesn't mean you actually play that role in the game. And I think we probably need to move away from strict positions when we think about games. It's more about roles and who's fulfilling a specific role in a specific moment. Anyone can move into the front 5. Obviously, we know that, right? Sometimes it's the number 8, sometimes it's the left wing, the left back, sometimes it's the right back, as long as someone else is covering the other space at the same time. So yeah, I don't think it would matter too much if he on paper started off the left. We might just play with a box midfield. He might just play as the diamond and have a left winger covering.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one fairly certain to nailed on to start against Burnley, Barts, is Curtis Jones. He didn't. I don't think he played at all for England.
No.
So yeah,
I'd say I think Grab only played 1 game, right? So he played in Europe. So I think it'll be Grab and CJ at the pivot. Max travelled back, so we know what Max like with travel. He's not particularly great, and it's away at Burnley, isn't it? So
yeah.
I think I can't imagine Dom not playing right back. I have to be honest. And I think the
hot hand though, isn't it? You know, they're definitely the hot hand.
Ride the hot. I don't want to say favourite phrases people to get used to if you're not seeing this on YouTube, but the hot freight. He is hot at the moment. You play him. The front 3 are kind of operating as they are. Cody played 2 games, but what's the option we've got? We're not going to play Isak because he's not up to speed, and we're not going to play.
He's pretty robust, though, Cody, isn't he?
He's robust, yeah. So I think it'll be. I think you're right. I think CJ and Grab will start in the pivot, and everything else will be the same as Arsenal, personally.
And people will point out that Cody got injured, but it wasn't like last season against Bournemouth. It was an ankle ligament thing, wasn't it? It wasn't a muscular thing when Cody got injured.
Yeah, he got tackled badly at Everton, wasn't it? Everton away, he got crushed, I think, and then he came back. Or that was another point where Diaz dropped in, didn't he? So yeah, it wasn't a muscular thing that he got taken out with. It was a tackle.
Cool. Any more international break observations, Hamza or Dr. Butts?
Si, you've got that stat, haven't you? The injury rate incidence increases after the international break, doesn't it?
Injury rate does. I don't have that stat, but yeah, it does. There are 3 periods over the season where it increases, and during Christmas, February, and after Astor weekends.
So something to watch out for other clubs as well.
I do have one intangible to ask you, Hamza. Have you seen who's got the early kickoff after the post-international break?
I have, yeah. It's Arsenal. They play Forest. I was technically down to do that match actually, but when Nuno got sacked, we swapped the people going. So Greg is going instead of me. He does Forest a lot, but yeah. And I think there's a really interesting thing to get into with both Arsenal and City about how they manage their players. When you look at how they used them last season, Arsenal first. They used them last season. They ran a lot of their key players into the ground, and this season appears to be no different. So, for example, Kai Havertz, last season, he had a soft tissue injury in warm weather training. He tore his hamstring. It's really bad. You shouldn't really be getting that, as I would say, in a controlled environment in warm weather training. I think 2 games before that warm weather break, he actually collapsed on the pitch after the full-time whistle. So that's because of how tired he was. You had Saka, who picked up a hamstring injury. He also obviously missed our match with a hamstring injury that was separate to the one that he got last season. So you've got a really skillful, important player for them that contributes a lot of their open play expected goals, open play expected assists, set piece expected assists, and actual assists, picking up injuries because he's essentially being overplayed. And then you see Havertz getting injured again, and Mikel Arteta coming out and saying, yeah, he's got a knee injury, but it's not contact, guys, it's a load issue. And you're thinking, why has he got a load issue so early into the season? So Arteta is known for being quite sort of intense with his training methods. Of course, there's upsides and downsides to that. We know the upside is what we saw with Liverpool. You can have a really intense team that brings a level every match because they're doing it in training. But there is a cost to that, especially in a long season. You might get injuries. And they've also added a new assistant manager, Gabriel Heinze, who is also known to be as intense, maybe more intense than Arteta. So watching them this season and see how they rotate, they've got more depth, obviously, with their signings, but seeing how they work that is going to be really important. Likewise, City, they've got Pep Linders now, who's also known for super intense training methods. Again, upsides and downsides. It's easy to say.
Also known for many other things as well.
No, it is easy to just like poke at Linders and go, oh yeah, he's going to get injured. He's got his book, blah blah blah. But at the same time, he was an important part of Liverpool's success, and he might bring some sort of ideas to City that might help them this season, and that intensity might actually help them as well. But yeah, like I said, there's a risk that comes with that, and that might be injuries, and they've picked up a few already. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams cope with their training methods and the schedule, and how they rotate, and how they deal with managing their key players. Because I think actually that's more important than the manager themselves. The availability of talent on a weekly basis, of top talent, is probably going to determine where the league goes. In cup competitions, the manager and their changes in game will make a bigger impact. But yeah, Arsenal do have the early kickoff. We'll see how they work, and that's why I mentioned the stat earlier that Si mentioned. If any of their key players are injured, I mean Saliba or Saka, I think they'll be in trouble this season. I don't think they can sustain.
Do we have any news on the Saliba injury, considering he went off against us?
I think he's still out for a little while. It's not too serious. It was a rolled ankle that he picked up in the warm-up against Liverpool. And I saw a report very recently, but I can't exactly remember the details. But he's not meant to be out for too long. Si might be able to give a bit more
ankle
detail
sprain?
on the issue with that.
Yeah, he should be back next week theoretically. So he should miss 2 games, and that would give him 2 clear weeks and a full week of training to get back, which is fairly typical for a grade one, let's say ankle sprain.
So it's a question: if you take Saka, right? He's now got hamstring injuries on both legs. Is that significant if you have hamstring injury on both legs? Does that affect how you
It's very significant, and they're very related. So there'll be compensations. A cross sling. So how I work and have worked over 30 years is that you work from shoulder to the opposite foot. It works in like a spiral, and so we train in spirals all the time. And if you get so it's like a cross goes across, and if you get injured down one side, you will end up creating compensations, typically around the lumbar pelvic region, around the top of the pelvis, and that's what's happened. So there'll be a slight either a raising or a depth issue with the pelvis, so he ends up working harder on with one of his hamstrings on his other leg. And yeah, that's it. Let me preface this by that he will be one of the kids that is the most well prepared throughout his training history, from being a 10-year-old with good movement skills, with progressive overload. He just got flogged to death And once you get flogged to death and get that catastrophic injury, it's almost impossible to come back from. Like, genuinely, I would be worried about if I was I wouldn't be having him on my fantasy team, but I would also be a little bit worried from an Arsenal perspective, an Arsenal fan perspective, that he is now going to be the injury guy.
Yeah, it was very sad state of affairs with Bukayo Saka. Hamza, you resisted the my intangible to obviously the extension of the global refereeing conspiracy against Arsenal last season is now extended to the global scheduling conspiracy.
Yeah.
Just so we can needle the manager, who's very sensitive to these kind of things, isn't he already? So it's almost like they're just prodding him to get that reaction.
We'll see what he says. He usually takes things
personally.
When he's winning, he doesn't complain too much. But when they drop points, that's where he sort of raises issues, like the ball the other day. But that was Raya, actually. Sorry, but I think they've had discussions. Mind you, someone asked Pep Guardiola after the first week of the first game of the season, what do you think about the new ball? And he went, I didn't play today, and that was his answer. In all seriousness, the ball does have slightly different characteristics. Anyone that's played with different balls knows that. But as in, like, to actually complain about it is an entirely different matter. I don't know why you would. But yeah, we'll see. I haven't checked to see how many early kickoffs Liverpool will have. I think. Do we play on Thursday a few times this season as well? I noticed that City are playing on Thursday this week, so I think the Champions League does run over as well a few times, which makes it a bit difficult or awkward.
Champions League next week, because City can't be playing Thursday. You've got Champions League.
They are playing on Thursday against Napoli.
Oh, they've got Champions League Napoli game. The Champions League game on Thursday.
That's what I mean. So they play Thursday, Sunday, and Arsenal have 2 days extra rest because they play Tuesday, Sunday. They play each other on Sunday.
I had no idea it was even a thing.
The following Sunday.
Absolute bastards.
Yeah.
Get more TV games. Absolute bastards.
I think there was a couple of games. I think there was
putting it on the internet. UEFA are absolute bastards.
I'm sure there were a couple of games last season, a couple of Champions League match day rounds where it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday matches. I'm sure there were. But yeah. Anyway,
I think we escaped the Thursdays for the moment. I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but after Jurgen complained about the 12:45 kickoff to Des Kelly very famously on BT Sport, I think we had a period of 7 of the next 8 next international breaks. We had the 12:45 on Saturday.
We will still get them because the following in Asia is just really big. We will still get them. The Premier League wants that.
Arsenal need 8 to us having none before they've caught us up since Jurgen took over.
Well, we've got one more on the derby on the 20th, so it'll be
20th of September.
Yeah,
it's
derby. Oh, that's the early kickoff after the Champions League, not after the It's more like the international lads coming back on Friday, the day before you're meant to play in the Premier League game, kind of thing. Yeah, after the play.
Has there been any update on Mac Allister's knock, by the way? No.